Hi, she's Trixie, I'm Sarah, and this is Cinder. And welcome to our yarn world, a place where we come to share our love for the yarn crafts and what it does for us and how it might be beneficial to you. We ask you to get something nice to drink, get prepared for a good time. My mom is just insane and has so much to show you again. And I'm super excited to see what she has to share. Okay.
Bye, Cinder.
So, yep. We're coming to you. I don't know what today is.
February 25th.
Yes.
2021.
Yes. I knew that. It was Mommy's anniversary with my dad yesterday. I knew what today was.
25 years with the same man. That's a long time. But guess what? We made it, and he got me the sweetest little card, and I told him last night that I'd like to get it framed because it opens up into, the front panel, the middle panel being just like flowers on it, and then the saying. So it all expands out to the same side. And I'd like him to make a frame for it. I told him it didn't even have to have glass in it. It's just a card. But that I'd like to hang it and just have it to commemorate the day.
It's really, really nice.
So we just sat around being by ourselves. We watched movies. We had our favorite meal. I made meatloaf last night. That's his favorite meal. And we watched a movie that inspired our wedding, Vows. Pure Country. The wedding vows were the
lyrics
to the verse or the chorus. I think it was the chorus to I Cross My Heart. So, we said those to each other at our wedding, and he sang it to me during our reception, and it's always been our song. And so we watched the movie yesterday that inspired all that, and so it was a good day. And now today is today, and it's nice and sunny out, and the snow is actually melting.
Yes, it's been a relief compared to what it's been like these last couple of weeks, and just really, really happy to see the sun. If you live in the north anywhere, you get quite sun deprived with all the doomsday clouds, and it doesn't matter whether it's just rain or bleak or it's actually snowing. You can have vitamin D deficiency, and you can have some. Without vitamin D, you actually are more susceptible to getting depressed and having those sort of symptoms almost becoming chronic depending on how much you lack it. So everyone has just been bathing despite the winter. People are just literally just laying out in the snow, just bathing in the sun, just having a bit of a moment, a bit of a reprieve. Another good note, in our town of Muskegon in Michigan, our personal hospital had a day where they didn't have an active COVID patient in the COVID ward, and they had a 0 day, and that is a good sign. Yeah, it just made everyone happy. It's just been a long hardship, and it's just nice to have those reprieves. And I'm really, really excited to see what could come with this, because hopefully we're starting to see a little bit better side of the horizon.
Let's get on the other side of that hill.
So, like I said, pull up something to drink and let's get ready to dive deep. My mom has some water. I have some hot caramel macchiato. Anything goes here. Yeah. Whatever works for you is working for us too. So, guess what I finished? Yep, it's another week of completion. Got it done this morning. She started this during the video last week.
Yeah. Just before the video.
in my house started it a couple of hours before we started that video. It's only been a week. She completed it this morning. She's already started another blanket.
At her house.
Just an hour ago. Oh my God.
So we started with this
Salsa.
festive reds and another color, which was a
variegated green, purple, and kind of a yellow gold.
Yeah. And
it mutated. It went to...
We have a salsa blanket. It goes.
And goes. And goes. And goes.
This way? We're going this way.
And goes. And goes. And goes. Oh dear Lord.
Until we just finished it. I just finished it this morning.
The main color for this one was red.
Yes.
We've been talking about this. This is supposed to be going to...
This goes to Noah.
And his brother, she finished a scrappy blanket where the main continuous color still had variegating shades of the color, but still the most consistent color was blue with a paired other color.
Yes.
The only color that blanket lacked was red, whereas in this one, this had all the red in it, and it went from variegating degrees of red paired with other colors that wasn't blue.
Yes.
And so she has, to make it distinct that this is his and this is his.
Yeah. One's going to get a red blanket, one's going to get a blue.
And it's really, really cool. I mean, this is, like, insane. And it's thick. Like, I know I was telling you guys about this, but, like, if I put my hands in between the layer, that's just one... That's just one depth.
That's just the thickness
because
of
she
it.
doubled on worsted weight yarn.
Yeah.
So it's the equivalent of, like, an 8-ply.
And I did a half double crochet using an L hook and
how many chains?
105 chains, so it was 104 across.
After you take in that one stitch to go back.
So
how many rows up?
I have no idea. I just I laid out the blue blanket yesterday and I counted how many rows I lacked on this red one.
Okay.
I lacked 31. I was able to get 29 done yesterday and then 2 this morning. So it finished it off. I don't know how many rows up it is, but I do know that it fits a twin size bed and it hangs over a little bit.
Do you know what the dimensions are, like, in
inches?
It was... Is it 60 by 40?
I think it was 76 by 48.
Okay, so I was just a little bit off.
So...
General. Yeah, okay.
So it's going to Noah on Christmas.
Yeah, she's been working on getting Christmas gifts done early, and I think that's really smart.
Like I've said before, Mom and Dad are getting them bunk beds, and so now they each have a blanket to go on their bunk bed. That's all theirs and their colors. And now I started on Braxton's. And if you remember last week, I said this was truly going to be a scrappy blanket because it don't matter what color goes in it. I don't have to have a continuous color in this one. Any color goes. Anytime I run out of one yarn, I can add any old color I want to, and I am so happy about that. So right now,
she has white paired with this muted variegation.
I have a variegated, very, very muted, but it's got reds and blues and golds and greens all in it.
I'm sorry, this is not focusing very well. There it goes. It's a variegated, muted, rich color scheme. It kind of reminds me of the color palette that, like, the 80s had with some, like, almost like, I know it's going to be weird, but, like, or 90s, like, car seat patterns.
Yeah, yes. And then I'm pairing it with a white. So it looks like this. So I just started it like an hour ago. And I've got my chain of 105 and
This is a really good pairing. That's really, really pretty.
One whole row done and I'm starting on the second row.
That's so cool.
So, yeah. So now Braxton's has started and we'll see if we can get that done by next week. If I do...
When you can start on it.
Well,
that one requires some specific yarn.
One thing that we haven't told you is that my stepson, her half-brother, Eric, is fostering Braxton. And he's also, they're looking into getting a little girl. And we can't do specifics right now because her case is still pending. But because she's a little girl and because they've already got her room already set up for when she gets to come to their house. And everything's slowed down because of COVID. I mean, the court system has slowed right down.
They were supposed to have her before Christmas.
Yes. And we were going to have her at Christmas, and we didn't. So we're all just waiting. But I heard the other day that part of the parental
agreement
court system is going through in early March. And... if they sign off on this little girl, then my family is going to grow. We're going to have another little girl. And so they have her room in sage and peach. And so after Braxton's, I think that I'll start on hers. And I'm debating. I'm thinking that... I may do hers in the chevron.
I think that would be really pretty.
Yeah.
Because those colors need to stand out on their own, and if you stripe them, like maybe with a white in between.
I'm going to do something different with hers, and it won't be scrappy. It'll be just the one yarn per chevron. But I think that if I do that, it'll be something uniquely made just for her, and she'll know that she's wanted and that included in our family. And I just that's what my Nana's heart is telling me. We're just looking forward to getting this little girl, but it's been a long road and it's been a lot of hurry up and wait. And so we're just kind of biding our time. But I think that after Braxton's blanket is done, I'm going to start on hers. And if I can get all of these done before the end of March, then I can just have the rest of the year to do whatever my other goals may be. But the Christmas gifts will be done.
Yeah.
So it's exciting.
Yes. Yes, and I really think that that's really cool. I mean... There's a lady that used to go to our church that for baby showers she would crochet blankets.
Oh yes.
And she'd pray over them as she'd make them, and she made them out of a very, very nice baby yarn. My kids both have a blanket by her, and you can feel the anointing on it because she really took the time to pray.
Yes.
Very, very deeply. As she ministered in her way of crocheting and giving gifts in that way.
She's a very strong prayer warrior.
Yeah. And when we are using our faith, sometimes actions are required. It isn't just a matter of I'm believing this to happen. It's I'm believing it so much that I'm preparing for it.
Right.
It's the whole parable of the man that sees no rain coming and doesn't plow because he doesn't see any reason to get ready for something that he doesn't see coming, compared to the farmer that decides, despite the rain, I don't see rain coming, I am preparing for its arrival just so that if and when it does come, I get something out of it.
Right. I'm going to have my seeds in the ground so that when that rain comes, they can sprout.
we've been going through a lot of trial and error waiting for this little girl.
Yeah.
And especially my brother and my sister-in-law.
Right.
It has been a very emotional roller coaster, but they're finally meeting an end. And no matter what, this little girl's going to be in their life because of the family friend group that they are, how they were introduced to her.
Yes.
They actually know part of the family, and there's no way that they wouldn't still be able to have her in their lives, even regardless of whether she lives with them. That my mom taking the time to make this blanket is just almost an act of faith. We're choosing to believe that she will be able to be in that room, that it has the designs, that it has the color palette. You know, sometimes it's a matter of, God, it's not that we don't want her to be with her family. We just want what's best for her. And if what's better for her is to be with
people who actually want to be with her,
then let her come.
Yeah.
We're willing to be a part of her family and be her family where her family is struggling.
Yes.
Because it's just a lot of struggle.
Right.
And
she's not even living with the parents right now. She's living with the elderly aunt. Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, and from what I have understood, the parents are just going through a very severe hardship, and they recognize that in this time of their life, with what's going on, there is no good way for them to take care of their baby, regardless of how much their heart is there.
Yeah.
Because even Amber's heard from the parents that they do have the heart to want to have the kid. That's why they did.
Right.
They just didn't realize that what they have put themselves through isn't fair economically to have the child go through.
Yeah.
Their choices can't be for the kid to bear.
Right.
So they're trying to do the best, and it's just such a heartbreaking scenario. But God has a plan and a way to still allow the parents to be in this child's life, but also still have the child be in a very productive, healthy household. You know, sometimes we just have to walk ourselves through it. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes emotions get in the way. But when we have the ability to use our craft and be able to use our faith and pray for a good outcome, it really, really helps. And that's like what I say in the beginning of, these videos is, these yarn crafts, the yarn craft and what it provides, because sometimes it's steps of faith.
Yes, very much so. I think so. I mean, even with them, they had to get the room ready. They had to go through all the steps of the people coming to check their home and make sure that this little girl had a room and a dresser and clothes and make sure that everything was already set in motion, so that if this little girl, if the court said, okay, let's put her into foster care, who's that person who's going to be there to take care of her?
Everything is set.
They can just bring the child right to our family's provided home, and then everything will begin. We'll be able to spend time with her.
Faith has very many different faces. It has very many different actions, but it takes steps of faith. It takes action.
Yeah.
Faith without works is dead.
Yep.
So sometimes that's what our part is in it. Yeah. And I was mentioning to you guys last week about how I was feeling a little discouraged with my agreement in making some socks for a friend. And I was telling you how I don't like it when my craft becomes work, because it brings me so much joy. And though I realized that it was never in her intention to not pay me when she hadn't, it still just bore discouragement with everything that was going on in her life and my life at the time. All the energy I put into making said and putting forth in said project in order, just to not see the fruit of it. She ended up paying me right after the video, and said that she recognizes that I've only done a third of the work, but that she is willing to be patient on getting the other 2/3 to her and my time. And I'm working on it. That's what my a whip is today. And it's just one of those things where sometimes, even though you don't understand, sometimes you just have to be the adult and realize that you've agreed to something, you have to do it. And it's not that I wouldn't do it, it's just that it was, I'm being very vague here, there was just a lot going on compared to what she had said, to what I had agreed to what was going on in both households, that was just sitting there making it very hard to make the order happen at the time that we were hoping for it to happen by. Right. And so it's taking longer than we expected, and it takes the fun out of it. And it really did take the fun out of it for her because of some of the drama that she was going through, and even just making this order happen due to troubled relationships.
Right.
So, with that being said, we're coming through on the other side. She paid because she doesn't care. She wants to be able to have some fun, and she wanted to help me out. So the deal has been made. We're doing this. We're actually stepping forward. We're not just being paid for what is, but in faith, what will be.
Right.
So
her little business is really taking off now. She's getting paid for she's gotten paid for 2 projects now.
So I have started a sock.
Isn't that pretty? I love the colors.
So I found this gray that matched the ombre gray, and this a very blue teal gray ombre. And so the cuff is just a 1x1 rib. Don't remember how much I cast on to. I can get the details to you as soon as I can find them.
Right.
But it's just a 1x1 rib cast on, and then I went stockinette when I switched over to the other color. Right now I'm just kind of doing the calf portion because these socks I think are going to be a little bit longer. I know I should know, but this is coming out of my head. I'm interpreting a pattern by visual, a completed pattern that she sent to me. So I am processing what I see and trying to replicate it.
Without written instructions.
Without written instructions. Now, I do have a basis of what a normal sock pattern is depending on size. So I'm going off of that, but I have to also adapt it to what I saw in the photo.
Right.
So I'm just kind of doing this right now, and I'm kind of doing the calf, the leg portion, and then I'm kind of struggling. I know I'll find a tutorial, but what I normally do is a heel turn when I do my socks. Do a heel turn with my knit so that it just gradually turns and just heads back towards the foot area. But I don't think that that's going to work because I have it planned to have the cuff, the heel, and the tip of the toe all the same color, and the heel turn is so big and so vast that there's no good way of having that be just one color without making it too big and too, you know what I mean? The traditional heel having color is smaller compared to what the heel turn sock would make. Right. If that makes sense. Right. I know there's several different ways of making the heel on a knit sock. I have to find one that accommodates for it to be colored differently than the rest of the sock. Right. And so I have to learn a different way of doing it. I've never done that before, but I'm going to be looking that up, and hopefully I'll have a complete sock by the time you come back.
What needles are you using?
I don't know. I cast this on way back before Christmas.
Oh, okay. But you're using circular needles.
I'm using circular needles. I'm going in the round. I am not doing double pointed needles. I have done that in the past. I want to say that these are a 5. They actually might be a 3 or 4 millimeter, depending, like in that range. Cause now that I remember, I do not remember. I will figure that out. I am very sorry. I was just excited to get started.
Oh yeah.
So
I love the colors.
But I cast this on, like I said, before Christmas. I had gotten those original socks done before Thanksgiving.
Right.
She didn't get them till the end of January, in February, like the beginning of February. It took that long, based on COVID and so many other details.
Right.
So when I started this, and she said she wasn't sure when she was going to pay me, I put this down, being like, I just don't have it in me to finish something that I've agreed to make for profit if it's not going to be completed, because I could use this yarn for something else.
Right.
Because I bought the yarn. So I had to see a little bit of a forthright to come forth before I could finish.
Right.
Which I feel like that's fair. She wasn't angry by that because she felt that that was fair as well.
Right.
And then I was very consumed with my Christmas projects. But now that I picked this up, it's been sitting. That's part of the reason I don't have a complete memory or a spreadsheet of everything that's going on.
Right.
And what I remember. But I will be able to give you all those details next week, because I plan on having one sock completed by then, or a very good portion of this sock completed. I've been working on my Mario blanket. For those who have been watching my series, I've been making a granny square Mario blanket. It's a Mario picture that is pixelated due to the old style Super Mario, and by pixeling it out, pixels are square by square, so I am doing it, this pattern granny square by granny square. And again, I have still been continuously working on that, and I am trying to go color by color. So I have 6 colors I have to have a certain amount of squares to spread out and complete the blanket.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of going smallest amount to biggest amount. So like I like my smallest amount is 5, then it goes to like 23, and then like the largest pile of color, I do believe is 179 squares, and that's the smallest pile. So this blanket will be big, but this is also a for-profit expense. I know that I'm, from what I've seen on the craft knitting and crocheting podcasts, that's not really talked about a lot.
Right.
That I've seen a lot of it's more for commission, or we're making this to send to hospitals or stuff. And I do plan on having like a tithe of my projects going towards like a nursing home, like shawls to nursing homes and stuff like that. That is part of my heart and part of what I want to do. But being a stay-at-home mom, this is my way of being able to contribute back into our bills. And
Right.
Because it's way too expensive to send my kids to daycare just for me to end up having to work to afford them to go to daycare. That doesn't make sense. But if I can make a little bit of money on the side with what I can do at home, then
Right.
I'm able to make a little bit of a contribution back into some of the things that have piled up, bills that we want to try to get through. So that's what we've been doing. That's part of the reason why we've been doing some of this stuff. And it really is a joy. I know that might sound like petty of me when I'm just like, I just don't like it when my craft becomes work, but I do this for more than just money. I wouldn't be doing this if it was just for money.
Right.
Let's be real. I love what I do, and the moment that it's unenjoyable, it puts a bad taste in my mouth.
Right.
When I'm working out, it's a headspace mentality for me. I'm working out for me. But when I hear my kids crying or getting upset,
Right.
or people asking me to do other things, it puts a bad taste in my mouth when the one thing that I'm trying to do for myself is tainted with, well, you should be doing something else.
Right.
If I don't have good headspace, I can't work out. If I craft and I don't have good headspace in the sense of I'm doing this to relax me, that's a different thing. When you have bad headspace and you're doing something to relax, that's one thing compared to doing it and doing it for someone else and your heart's not in it because they're just expecting you to do it instead of it being a gift to them.
Yeah.
And it's just a different of whether you want to do something compared to whether you're being made to do it.
And that's true. When Amber came over the other day with Eric, I was able to give her pink scrappy blanket for her birthday. And she pulled it out of the bag, and she just, all she could say was, I love it, I love it, I love it. And she would open it up and she'd see all the different colors, and I told her about the sparkle, and it was just, I love it, I love it, I love it. And she put it over her lap. It was meant to be a lap blanket for when she's sitting on the couch watching a movie or whatever, and it fit her perfectly. And it was just like, every time she would say I love it, it was like, oh, good. I did the right thing. I did the right thing in the right colors for her birthday.
Yeah.
And it made me really feel good. And when you are able to use your craft, use your abilities, use the talent that God gave you to make something to bless another person, you are doing what your purpose is meant for you to do. And it makes you feel all the better that you get to be part of God's plan to please another person on this earth. And that was one thing that I would like to talk about today, is following your joy. Whatever you find that makes you joyful in this world, it gives you a blessing. You get the joy of being able to
be used by God.
Yeah, be used by God. Get the blessing to have the joy in your life and in your world. But you're also blessing another person, and they get joy as well from what you've done for them. To see the smile on another person's face, to see the smile, or to hear the laughter, the happy laughter, and the joy that giving brings to you as a person, and the giving to another person and their joy in getting it, is just something that I think even the Lord himself enjoys doing. I mean, he gives us beautiful days so that we can have a smile on our face. And he gives us people in our life so that we can get a smile on our face. And joy and laughter and happiness in our lives. And, you know, it's a good thing to find joy. And it's a good thing to have something that brings joy in your life every day, like using yarn does for Sarah and I. We like using our yarn, having our hands be busy, doing something for other people, and making a difference in people's lives.
Yeah, I have been when it comes to joy, kind of like what my mom was saying, there's a matter of when you find joy, it's when you find God in the small moments of the day.
Yeah.
The Bible talks about joy being something that's only God-given, and the moments that you're able to see it,
right,
means that God is speaking to you. It's kind of like just those moments when you do see his. It's like you see his face, you see his heart, and he is giving you something that you can use to pull through, because there's no way you can do anything without hope. There's no way that you can continue without some degree of enjoyment.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much in this world that if you don't have those few things that make you smile, there's just no good way of making it through.
No.
And so
there's too much pulling you down to make it hard in your life. You need to find the joy to bring you up.
So I'd encourage you there are those things. There's those things that are gonna that God knows about you. And if you're really having a very hard day, just ask for His joy. Ask for the things that, because the worst thing is when you're depressed and the things that used to bring you joy don't anymore.
Yeah.
It's very hard. I would encourage you to ask God. Just ask God for the joy. Because it's God given. There's just no other.
No.
Joy is happiness that's only God given. That's what was told to me.
Yeah.
And it's always made sense to realize that when you really do experience a true joy, there's no other way that you can feel that without God.
Right. Right. And the scripture I have for you today is, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. And that's found in Lamentations 3:22 and 23. God's steadfast love never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. And He has great faithfulness to provide for each and every one of us. And it's again, if you have the love of the Lord and His mercy, and that you get every morning, and you have great faithfulness, then you should have joy as well.
It's very funny that verse comes out of a book called Lamentations.
Which means weeping, bitter weeping.
A bitter weeping and deep, deep grief. When the reality is that's the sort of verse that really pulls out what you should be looking at when you're going through something. Because I've been working on a Psalms. I don't have it in front of me, but it talks about bringing me a clean heart, O God, that I would have a renewal of a zeal in my salvation, that it would help me be able to focus again. Because there is a degree that when God enlightens you on something, you have a higher zeal. You have more gas in your tank.
Right.
Salvation is something that can really motivate you. Joy is something that can really motivate you. Hope, faith is something that can really motivate you.
Right.
And there are those things that, even though, like I said, with our family that's going through a time waiting for this little girl, there were still acts that they could make in faith to be able to get excited. Yes. Despite the despair of wondering if they were actually going to get her. They still prepared. There are just times that, despite not seeing the rain, if you just decide to make the effort to get ready for it, it could come.
Yeah.
There are times it might not, but you still put forth the effort. And in that, God sees it.
Yeah.
He sees it. I encourage you, do what you can to be renewed. Just look into the Bible. Ask for joy. Ask for a renewal. Look at things in any other perspective that you can. Because sometimes when you're stuck, you gotta think outside of the box.
Yep.
It takes a God's point of view. Ask for His thoughts, because they're higher and have a little bit more of the picture than what we have.
And He's willing to give.
And on that note, we'd like to say thank you for coming and joining us. We are very blessed to be able to be a part of your day, and we hope that you have a blessed rest of your day. We'll see you next week, and we ask that you stitch your way
to mental health.